Hey everybody, Jim here with another video for you. This is the 10th installment in my Actor Spotlight series, and this time I am ranking the films of Tom Cruise. But before we begin, at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, please leave comments below. Let me know how you feel about Tom Cruise, what some of your favorite movies are, and some suggestions for me to pick up from the titles that I don't currently own. Now, Tom Cruise is a 62-year-old megastar. He's been a star for over 40 years. Whether you like the man or not, you have to give him credit. The man is a working machine, and very few in Hollywood work as hard as he does to get his projects brought to fruition. As a matter of fact, when Top Gun Maverick came out after the pandemic, it is widely considered to be the film that saved cinema as far as theatrical releases go, because that movie was the first blockbuster after the unfortunate events of the COVID-19 pandemic. He's a 62-year-old man. Like I said, he's got 47 credits on IMDb. I have 24 titles currently in my collection, so half of his work I currently own. Like I said, regardless whether or not you're a Tom Cruise fan or not, he does have an impressive body of work. So we're going to go through these, starting off from 24, working our way down to 1. I don't love all of these movies, but they're all well made, and we're just going to jump right through. The one thing I do want to mention is that cosmetically, this video might not be great because I own all of the Mission Impossible films, and the first 4 are part of a box set. So those 4 will simply be the discs. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start off with the bottom of the barrel, which again is not a terrible movie. It's just my least favorite of Tom Cruise's that I own, and that one is Days of Thunder, directed by the late great Tony Scott. In this movie, in addition to Tom Cruise, co-stars the wonderful Robert Duvall, Randy Quaid, Nicole Kidman, Carrie Elways, and Michael Rooker. This is more or less just Top Gun in a racetrack. That's all it is. Top Gun in a NASCAR as opposed to the Naval Academy. But again, entertaining movie, but it's never connected with me, to be honest. Number 23 is Ridley Scott's Legend, co-starring Mia Sara and the incredible Tim Curry. Tim Curry is the best thing about this movie, without a doubt. The makeup effects with him, and the set design, it's a beautiful movie. It's just goofy. But again, Tim Curry is fantastic as Darkness. Number 22, from director John Woo, Mission Impossible 2. Co-starring with Tom Cruise, Douglas Scott, and Thandie Newton. The weakest of the Mission Impossible movies, in my opinion. It's watchable. All the Mission Impossible movies are watchable, but this one to me is definitely the weakest out of the 7 that are currently out. Or is it 8? I don't know. We'll get to them when we get to them. And number 21 is Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. Again, co-starring Nicole Kidman. They were married at the time. And Sidney Pollack and Raid Jabarjada. I can never pronounce that guy's name, but he steals every damn movie he's in. He played Boris the Bullet Dodger in Snatch. Very, very odd movie, very strange movie. It was Stanley Kubrick's last movie. He passed away after filming this. He was getting ready to film AI, and then he passed away. Again, not my favorite Kubrick movie, but again, it's extremely well made. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman both give very good performances. Top 20. Number 20, from that Mission Impossible box set again. The first installment, Mission Impossible, directed by Brian De Palma. This one co-stars John Voight, Ving Rhames, and Jean Reno. Again, entertaining movie. To me though, it's not really a De Palma movie. Outside of a couple of sequences, this is just a typical action movie, but there are a couple of scenes that definitely have a De Palma flourish, especially the scene where Tom Cruise is hanging from the ceiling trying to get into the soundproof room. That is a very De Palma-esque type scene. Number 19, from that same set, is J.J. Abrams' Mission Impossible 3. co-starring the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is definitely the best thing about this movie, as the villain. Again, good movie. It's fun. It's the best of that series at that point for sure. But again, it's not as good as some of the films that follow it. Okay, number 18 is Valkyrie, co-starring Kenneth Branagh, and this one is directed by Bryan Singer. We won't really talk about that guy too much. This is a World War II conspiracy thriller about some German soldiers that hatch a plot to kill Hitler. Solid movie. Next, Top Gun, directed by the late great Tony Scott again, and co-starring Val Kilmer and Kelly McGillis, among others. Oh, gotta mention Tom Skerritt and, of course, Michael Ironside. This movie was a phenomenon. It was a huge hit when it came out. The soundtrack was a huge hit. And this is definitely the movie that catapulted Tom Cruise from being a star into a superstar. Like I said, from this point on, he could basically be in anything for a while, and it was going to be a hit. And like I said, I don't like this movie as much as I did when it came out. I mean, at the time, I loved this movie. I saw it like 10 times. It hasn't aged all that well, but it's not a horrible movie by any stretch. Next, we have the last installment, as of this filming, of the Mission Impossible series, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. This one co-stars the usual gang of misfits, Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg and such. This one is directed by Christopher McQuarrie, and the newest one is coming out this summer, which is the second part of this story. And by all accounts, that might be the last Mission Impossible movie. Really good movie, but again, it's a part 1, so that's why it's ranked where it is. Next, we have Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds, co-starring Tim Robbins. Most people absolutely adore this movie. They put it like top tier Tom Cruise and top tier Spielberg. I don't. I do like it. I think it's a good movie. It's just, I've never connected with it the way that I thought I would. Now, the special effects are great, and the performances are great, but again, Tom Cruise's character is kind of a dick in this movie, and I think that might be the reason why I just never really connected with it. Next, from that Mission Impossible set again, the 4th installment, Ghost Protocol, directed by Brad Bird. This movie's fun. This is where the series really starts to pick up, in my opinion, and like I said, this movie's a lot of fun. Next, from director Martin Scorsese, we have The Color of Money, starring Paul Newman in his Academy Award-winning performance, and co-starring Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and Helen Shaver. This movie was the follow-up to The Hustler. That same character that Paul Newman played in that character, Fast Eddie Folsom. And in this one, he takes a young protege under his wing, played by Tom Cruise. And again, great movie. It's not top tier Scorsese, but the performances alone definitely make this movie worth watching. Number 12 is Top Gun Maverick, co-starring Jennifer Connelly, small appearance by Val Kilmer and Miles Teller, directed by Joseph Kosinski. And like I said earlier, this is the movie that revitalized theatrical movie-going experiences, because nobody was going to the theater post-pandemic. Everybody was still a little bit gun-shy about going. Paramount originally was going to release this on Paramount Plus during the pandemic, and Tom Cruise had so much pull, he said, if you do, I'll never film another movie for your company again. And he knew that this movie would bring butts back into the seats, and he was absolutely right. This movie was a phenomenon, financially and critically. It was even nominated for Best Picture that year. Really, really good, solid follow-up to what many consider a classic. I gotta admit, when I heard that they were making a sequel to Top Gun, I laughed. I was like, really? They should have done that, 30 years ago? I was wrong. This is really a great, solid movie. Number 11 is Mission Impossible Fallout. Again, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. And this one co-stars Henry Cavill, among others. Again, movie's a lot of fun. There's some great action scenes in this movie, and again, it's just the Mission Impossible movies up until Dead Reckoning, they just got really fun. I mean, they really are, and this is no exception. We are at the top 10. Number 10, winner of Best Picture that year, Rain Man, directed by Barry Levinson and co-starring Dustin Hoffman in his Academy Award-winning performance for Best Actor. What can you say about Rain Man? It's a great film. A lot of people say that it hasn't aged well. I don't care. I think it's a great movie. And outside of Born on the 4th of July, which came out before this, to me, this was the movie that really showed that Tom Cruise could be a serious dramatic actor. He's great in Born on the 4th of July. Okay, he actually should have won an Oscar for that as far as I'm concerned. But arguably, he's just as good as Dustin Hoffman in this film, and he gets overshadowed by Dustin Hoffman's performance as Raymond. Great film. Number 9, directed by Sidney Pollack, The Firm. I love this movie. And this one's got a murderer's row cast. Along with Tom Cruise, you've got Gene Hackman, Wilford Brimley, Jeanne Tripplehorn, Ed Harris. I mean, it's one of those murderer's rows. Holly Hunter. I mean, it's just a great movie. Based on the John Grisham novel, and definitely one of the better ones from John Grisham, in my opinion. Fantastic film. Number 8 is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, my favorite of the Mission Impossible films. This one is directed by Christopher McQuarrie again. This one has the same usual cast, but this one added Alec Baldwin to the mix in a more substantial role. And yeah, this movie's great. Next we have, from Rob Reiners and written by Aaron Sorkin, A Few Good Men. Again, along with Tom Cruise, a great cast. Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon, Kevin Pollak, Kiefer Sutherland, and in one of his best performances, Jack Nicholson. Classic film, it's infinitely quotable. Everybody knows the line, "You can't handle the truth." This is just a excellent film. Next, from director Steven Spielberg again, Minority Report. Co-starring the late, great Max von Sydow and Colin Farrell. This movie's phenomenal. I love this movie to death. It is just so much fun. Tom Cruise is great in the role. Everybody's great in their roles. This is just one of those infinitely rewatchable movies. We're getting down to it. Next we have Ben Stiller's directed Tropic Thunder, starring Ben Stiller, Jack Black, and in his Academy Award nominated performance, Robert Downey Jr. Tom Cruise plays the head of the studio in a fat suit, basically channeling his a cross between Harvey Weinstein and Joel Silver, and he's absolutely hysterical in this hilarious movie. This movie could definitely not be made today, especially with the Robert Downey Jr. character, but I don't care. This is one of the funniest movies from the last 25 years. I absolutely adore Tropic Thunder. Yeah, we are definitely getting down to it now. Number 4 is Michael Mann's Collateral, co-starring Jamie Foxx and Jada Pinkett Smith. This is one of the few times that Tom Cruise plays a villain, in this case a hitman, and he's phenomenal in the role. My good friend Carlos doesn't really buy the gray hair that they got Tom Cruise looking, making him look older than he really is and such. I don't really care about that. Like I said, I think Tom Cruise is phenomenal in this part. The chemistry between the two leads is great. And Collateral's just a great movie. Top three. Number three, from director Edward Zwick, The Last Samurai. Co-starring in his Academy-nominated performance for Best Supporting Actor, Ken Watanabe. This movie also features Tony Goldwyn and Billy Connolly, among others. When I was working at the theater at the time. We got the poster for this movie, and when I saw the poster and saw Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai, I laughed. I was like, are you friggin' kidding me? And then I saw the movie and wept. This movie's phenomenal, and he is phenomenal in it. This was the first movie I ever saw Ken Watanabe in, and I've loved the guy ever since. The Last Samurai is a terrific movie. Number two, my introduction to Tom Cruise, not really, but the one that really put him on the map, Risky Business from 1983. I was just about 16 when my mother took me to see this movie, of all things. Co-starring the beautiful Rebecca De Mornay. Again, this is the movie that really started it all for Tom Cruise. He had appeared in a couple of other movies like The Outsiders and Taps. Taps was actually my introduction to Tom Cruise. But this is definitely the movie that made him a star. And it's still one of my all-time favorite comedies. Definitely from that decade. It's just a great movie. But number one, my favorite Tom Cruise movie, as of right now, is Edge of Tomorrow. Directed by Doug Liman and co-starring Emily Blunt and the late, great Bill Paxton, among others. You want to talk about fun? This movie is the definition of that, because my God, this movie's fun. People who don't like Tom Cruise, who just don't like him for whatever reason, I always recommend this movie, because I tell them, if nothing else, you get to see Tom Cruise die at least 100 times in this movie, and every time it's entertaining as hell. I adore this movie. I saw it theatrically, talked my wife into going to see it because she had no desire to see it, and both of us just had a ball watching this theatrically. And I've watched this movie at least 20 times since. It's just one of those movies I could just put on at any point and just stop what I'm doing and watch. It's just so much fun. And again, Tom Cruise is great in this part. Emily Blunt is a rock star in this movie. I mean, she really is. But yeah, if you've never seen Edge of Tomorrow, by all means, check it out. It's a blast. So for our recap, number one is Edge of Tomorrow. 2 is Risky Business. 3 is The Last Samurai. 4 is Collateral. 5 is Tropic Thunder. 6 is Minority Report. 7 is A Few Good Men. 8 is Rogue Nation. 9 is The Firm. 10 is Rain Man. 11 is Fallout. 12 is Top Gun Maverick. 13 is The Color of Money. 14 is Ghost Protocol. 15 is War of the Worlds. 16 is Dead Reckoning. 17 is Top Gun. 18 is Valkyrie. 19 is Mission Impossible 3. 20 is Mission Impossible 1. 21 is Eyes Wide Shut. 22 is Mission Impossible 2. 23 is Legend. And 24 is Days of Thunder. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, most importantly, leave comments below. Before I leave, I want to mention a couple of things. Number one, I want to remind everybody that this coming Saturday, February 8th, and notice I said the 8th this time, I screwed up on the last video, September 8th, Saturday, at 1 p.m. Central Time, the next edition of Shooting the Shit with Jim will be live on my channel, and my special guest will be Daniel from Frank's Collecting Castle. Please join us then. We're going to be talking about horror movies. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. It's going to be a great time. And on Tuesday, February 11th, see, that's where I got the 11th from, guys. Tuesday, February 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time will be the next edition of Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim. Our special guest will be Texas Hardcore, And we are going to be mentioning, we're going to be talking about stories that have to do with love, movies about love, but they aren't necessarily conventional. We're not going to be talking about what you would normally talk about. So join in on that. That's going to be a really fun one. And again, that's going to be on Tuesday, the 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And if nothing else, stop by that show just to say happy birthday to Sean, because his birthday is on Tuesday. So I hope you'll be able to join us for one or both of those live streams. And until the next time, we'll catch you on the next one.